Stay tuned. Enjoy my interview with Marshall. Hi, this is Christopher James with All Things Branson. Today I am at Gettin' Basted inside the Starlight Theater, and they are hosting our show today. Thank you very much, Gettin' Basted. But I am out here interviewing a candidate.
Yes, sir.
For the mayor's.
For Mayor of Branson.
Yes,
sir.
Mr. Marshall.
Marshall Howden is how you pronounce my last name. It's a short one, but it's kind of tricky every once in a while.
That'll be easy to put on the signs and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm curious about you because we've never met before.
Absolutely.
And so, what is your background?
Well, my background is I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, and then my grandfather is Mel Tillis. So we moved here when I was 3 months old, and we had our theater for years and years. We did 2 shows a day, 6 days a week. The only day we offer was Mondays. And so I was put on stage when I was 14 months old, and I've been entertaining ever since then. So we sold our theater in about 2002 and decided to stay in Branson because just wonderful school system here. Just love it. I also love Branson because it's like, it's a small place in some ways, but it always feels like there's something going on. So in my opinion, it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it depends on the time of the year.
That's right.
Because sometimes during the year it seems so quiet.
I know that because I used to own a retail shop. So yes, sir.
Really?
January and February.
What retail shop did you have?
It was in Tanger Mall, right next to A&W there. It was called Dixie Fieldhouse Sports. That's the name of my company. And so I had a little sports kiosk in there and stuff. And we currently have our sports merchandise in the Branson Mill, where I produce the Kevin Shorey Christian Show. And I have my own show, Dixie Fieldhouse Live, which we just filmed an episode just a minute ago.
Yeah, and you just ran right over here. Because I have a store in the mall, in the mill as well.
I heard you talking about that.
Yes, sir. I have my own store in the mill there, the Magic Shop.
The Magic Shop, that's right.
So you started performing when you were 14 months.
About 14 months old, yes, sir. Me and my grandpa, we did, he was great friends with Roger Miller. So we did a tribute to Big River, the musical about Huckleberry Finn. And so he was Huck Finn and I was Huck Jr. And we went across on the raft and had the smoke, and it was just wonderful. We got some great pictures from that and some great memories.
Yeah.
So, yes, sir.
So you're used to being in front of cameras.
That's right.
And that
that's
sort
right.
of thing. So that's great. So what made you want to run for the mayor's position? Let's get right to that.
Absolutely. It's a great question. So I was raised, like I say, in a Patriots town with a Patriots heart. So I always had a desire to get involved with civil service and become a mayor, and I've always thought about it. And in fact, I thought you could run when you were 18 years old. There are some municipalities across the country that you can run, and in Branson you can run for alderman 18, but not mayor. It's 25.
I did not know that.
So I just turned 25 November 25th. And the filing date to start was in December. So it was perfect timing, and I've been planning this for a long, long time. The reason is because one of the first inclinations I got is I was very disappointed. I don't think this is anybody's fault, that we don't have a great community involvement in our local politics. Only about 10 to 12% of people voted last time in our municipal election for mayor. 5 to 10 people go to the alderman meetings. Mostly they're the city administrator, these folks, So that was my first thing. Before I really started to get too much into the issues, I knew that, we're known for patriotism, we're known for support of our veterans. Shouldn't we also be known as a thriving democracy?
Right. What's the average? Do you know what the average is for small cities?
That's a great question, but you know what's interesting? So, I think Karen got around 900 votes and Rand got like 750, something like that. So about 1,600 votes altogether. That was like the original population of like Branson, like in 1912. So that was kind of interesting to say that, the amount of people that vote were almost the original population of Branson,
Right.
So, it's something that I'm really, and I think people have asked me, well, why not run for alderman first? Well, my answer to that question is kind of simple. It's that the alderman is a legislative position. They vote on the laws. The mayor votes if there's a tie. And then the city administrator does a lot of the contracts and different things like that. And the mayor guides them, and it's certainly the mayor's job to make policy in a certain extent. But the mayor is a storyteller in a sense, and the mayor is an ambassador. And my granddaddy raised me to be a storyteller. And so I think that I could just provide Branson just a great ambassadorship through that and tell our story and tell our vision, but the right vision. And that's where I've gotten into understanding some of the issues, and there are some issues that I really, really feel strongly about. Such as the theater industry. It's interesting. They're a natural constituency to me, being my grandpa and also growing up, being an entertainer in town. So they were a natural constituency. But I didn't just jump right in day one and start saying, well, we need to, increase our theater marketing, all this kind of stuff, because I wasn't really sure of some of the concerns that the theater people did have. But what I did my due diligence. I'm a studier and a learner, so I went back and listened to all the Board of Aldermen meetings for the past year. About September, the Theater League started to go before the Board of Aldermen. And the first issue they had was they were concerned with the amount of marketing that Christmas had. And, we're a place of faith. I'm a very strong Christian, so we want to make sure that Christmas and the reason for the season is always there.
Right.
And then it kind of evolved. There's now this Facebook group, I'm sure you've heard of it, called Save Our Shows, and there's just a lot of sort of grievances aired on that page.
Isn't that more of a chamber issue, though, in the CVB?
Well, it is. It absolutely is. But we have to understand that the city contracts with the chamber, and that contract comes up. So it's the city's job to say, well, if we're going to keep contracting with you, we need to make sure that these, that our marketing's correct, essentially.
Right.
And so. There's been a lot of talk about, which city officials don't like the shows or do like the shows, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that anyone doesn't like the shows. But what I am saying, though, is that there have been some aldermen, and I'm specific on that aldermen, that have made derisive comments on our shows. And they've been online on a public forum, so everyone can see them. The shows were compared to dog food in a roundabout way.
Right.
Yeah, that was when the Blue Ribbon Task Force was actually denied to go on the agenda for the city. It had been talked about in previous alderman meetings, but they actually denied to put it as an official agenda item to discuss. There were different reasons given why. I think perhaps Bob Simmons had a reason that made a little bit more sense about that we might get lost in some of these things. But one thing that was said, and I'm running on conservative values, being pro-family, sort of controlling our spending, being good stewards of the people's money. But I hate, especially as a younger person, when those type of ideologies are used as talking points. And one of the things that said that really bothered me was they said it was, one of the aldermen said it was big government for them to perform their oversight duties on the chamber. No, I don't agree with that.
Right.
I think it's actually what they're responsible to do, not to say it's big government and to use that as a cudgel and a talking point to say we're not going to involve these things anymore. So let's go to the actual marketing themselves, because you mentioned the chamber.
Okay.
So they've decided that we're going to split our marketing product 3 ways: family fun, outdoor adventure, and live shows. Well, if you ask some of the show people, they're not even sure that they get a third at sometimes. Based on the city's own numbers and the chamber's own numbers, the majority of people still come here, I believe it's in the 60% for number one reason for our live shows and theaters. It's real simple. I just think it's what sets us apart.
Yeah.
I think not only is what sets our town apart, but it sets our lakes and our roller coasters apart too, because many places in the country have lakes, many places have roller coasters, but how many have them within a stone's throw of world-class entertainment?
Right.
And I think that's very important that we continue to say that we do have world-class entertainment in Branson. We don't have my grandpa here anymore, Andy Williams, all these people, but we still have incredible singers. And I think it's important while we say, especially from a mayor's position, to say we need some new acts in, but never deride our shows that currently exist here.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Oh,
So I'd just like to say, I'm pretty good friends with Karen. I've gotten to know her over the years. I mentioned to you I'm a sports guy.
Yeah.
And we did the Ballparks of America grand opening, and there was this guy, Bobby Denier, who was a Cubs player, and I'm a huge Cubs fan, and she really helped me get an interview with him. And so, that's awesome. And Karen's been so nice to me. I decided to run for mayor long before I even met Karen, so it's not something that I'm necessarily running against her, just kind of running on my own merits and my own story that I want to tell for Branson.
Well, see, that's great, because
Yes,
so many
sir.
people in politics, as we know from the last
Absolutely.
what's
yeah.
it been, 3 years
Yes.
of campaigning for federal positions,
Yes.
is that their positions are just to degrade the other people.
Right.
And that's
I thought
it,
about
so.
leaning in during the debate and just going, wrong, So,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
but so many people, when I've tried to talk with, we tend to not do political shows,
Absolutely.
but we like to meet interesting people.
Yes, sir.
So we come on, we don't endorse anything, but any time I've tried, even remotely, to bring up anything political, it's been degrading the other party. And
right.
stuff, so.
Well, one thing I will say about that is that we're trying to kind of change the narrative, and I guess change might be the right word. I guess go back to the original narrative. There's a thing that's happened in our city now where it seems that if you say you want shows and theaters to be the number one priority, it's almost like you're upturning the apple cart and you're changing what the people in power want to say. Well, there was a long period of time, 20 some odd years, where the theaters and live shows, that was the key narrative, and to say anything else else, that was the controversial thing.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to get back to. You know, and I'm not saying we need to only market our shows, and not. I'm an outdoorsman. I've put in my 300 miles on the Appalachian Trail myself. You know, so I love the outdoors. You know, I just believe that our shows are what sets us apart. So if we look at some like marketing, it was said one time that we have to avoid the Arkansas effect. You know, they have the Buffalo River, they have a lot of great things, and it'd be hard for us to just in promoting our lakes, you know, to kind of compete with them, you know. So I would like let's say we are promoting our lakes or our roller coasters. Let's stick Doug Gabriel on the roller coaster. Let's stick George Dyer on the roller coaster.
Exactly what I say.
You know?
And in fact, that is one of the reasons that we started this entire project.
Yes, sir.
Was to cross promote attractions with our entertainers.
Absolutely.
And so I'm working on some deals of getting some entertainers to go ziplining with me and to go, you know, roller coasters, exactly what you're saying.
Yes, sir. And I want to thank you, because as I started to study for this over the past few years, one of the very first like Branson videos I watched was your first interview with Karen. So so I've kind of followed you over the years. It's kind of helped me keep in touch with some of the things that are going on with Branson. So I definitely have watched some of your videos, and I sure appreciate that.
Well, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Well, as you know, there's been a lot of issues online, and Karen and I talked, if you watched the most recent one,
Yes, sir.
about how a lot of people think the mayor has much more power
Right.
than they actually have.
Right.
Or the mayor has more control. Let's just take, for example, there's controversy right now going on about the jet boats.
Right. Yes, sir.
And you're on the same side I'm on. And so there are a few people, not a lot of people, but a few people that are very much against this
Right.
sort of thing.
Right.
And as she tried to explain, as mayor, you can't, as any government official, you can't deny somebody coming in just
Right.
because people don't like what you're doing.
Right.
You know.
And so I watched your interview with the owner, the person who's putting it together.
Mike,
and, you know, I'm a representative. We live in a representative democracy. And so, you know, I want to represent the concerns. Maybe I don't share them, maybe I do.
Right.
But I want to represent the concerns of everyone. You know, I was some of my concerns were definitely put to ease when I watched that interview. You know, I don't know about the whole thing of moving away from the trout fishing and stuff like that. You know, they kind of talked about. I think he wasn't talking about moving away from that, just as maybe making the lake a little bit more accessible to all people. And I love the idea of like tours of the lake and stuff like that, and that the Coast Guard guys, I mean, that's, you know, I think that they really probably have it made in a certain way. But I do want to make sure that there was a marketing director from the chamber who did stand up in front of the city and said that we want to move away from wholesome and boring. I'm sorry, but knock on people's doors in this town and tell them you want to move away from wholesome, and you're going to get a lot of no's on that. I don't
Totally
believe in that.
agree.
And that's why I think I have a great dichotomy. And that's why I think, you know, in politics is a strong suit to say that I'm a young person. I have, you know, younger people values in some ways, but I'm also a person of faith, and I also believe in kind of what we were, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the problems here with some of the discussions is that people, online local people, start commenting before they know the facts.
Right.
And so when we do our interviews, the one that you watch, I had a list. I went onto the websites and said, here's the list of concerns, because so many people just speculate.
Absolutely.
In that case, I don't want to dwell on that one, but jet. As soon as they hear jet
Right,
boat,
right.
and it's just the type of propulsion it has.
Yes,
And I
sir.
don't remember if in the actual on-air video, because we ended up talking for 2 more hours.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Afterwards, just hanging out. But in terms of the trout fishing that he mentioned,
Yeah.
I think what he was explaining, if I remember right, because I actually haven't watched the rewatched the video, I just confusing our private.
Right.
Was that people have the misconception you're going to get in the boat, it's going to go like, you know, 50 miles an hour up and
Right.
down the lake. And as he explained, the point of it is to go out and give a tour of the boat, very similar to what Ride the Ducks are.
Yes, sir.
Nice and slow, go up to maybe, if there's people fishing, they won't go to that area.
Yeah,
If there's
yeah.
a lot of people kayaking, they won't go to that area. They're very flexible. And then the actual jet boat
Right.
that everybody is posting about in the pictures would be like a 5 to 10 minute, don't quote me on that, but like a portion of the experience.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And I watched the video, the one that you were talking about, and it was kind of cool. It was almost like the boat was unsinkable. It was spinning around, and it was getting a lot of water in it, and it wasn't sinking. So it's
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that we didn't have time we talked about so much more after the
right.
thing over lunch, but the fact that it has a 6-inch draft when fully loaded
Yes, sir.
with 50 people allows it to go into the shallower waterway, so it's not hitting and disturbing the trees, the prop doesn't hit anything, but it's made to go. That's why it has the power, so that it can go into small areas.
Yes, sir.
And stuff. But I think it's great, like getting some of these new attractions in town, such as the Ferris wheel, the new roller coasters, and all
For
that.
me, ballparks of America, I love
Yeah.
it. You know, I know Karen
You're a
loves it
sports
too.
guy.
Yes, sir, I'm a sports guy. You know, I was working at a hotel a few years back, and man walked in his business card, and we always had the names of the people that were checking in that night before we got to meet him. So on his business card it said Hamilton Chang. Turns out he's the CEO of the Ballparks of America. So that, as in a lot of things in my life, I think are fate. You know, so I got to meet him, got to know him a little bit, and just love the stuff that he's talking about bringing to Branson. And I've been in contact with some of the folks with the Southeastern Conference who used to be ambassadors for some of the universities, like Auburn University, about possibly bringing some fishing and angling, maybe Southeastern Conference teams to Branson, so all kinds of sports stuff.
Yeah,
We've got
I'm
some
not
great
big into the
ideas.
sports. It's
I
kind of a running
understand.
joke.
That's all right,
I
man.
hosted an event, and Cal Ripken,
Yes, sir.
Jr.,
Yes, sir.
I guess he would be, was there. And I kind of knew who he was when I was younger. I collected baseball cards, so I happened to have like probably 20 of his cards
Right.
at home, I later found out. But when I had to introduce him, I said, "You guys have Cal Ripken." Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
He plays baseball, and they said, "Well, he leads in strikeouts." And I said, "Well, he better practice his batting a little bit better." So
The notable thing about him is he was the Iron Man. He played in more consecutive games than any other person in baseball history. Played in over 2,000 consecutive games. I mean, that was what Cal Ripken's mainly known for.
Yeah. And I tried to run home and get my cards for him to sign.
Right.
That's
That's
didn't
awesome.
get to do.
Yes, sir.
Well, best of luck in the elections coming
you
up
so much.
April 4th.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention one other issue.
Sure.
As I started to study, I started to realize that we didn't really have the adequate funding that we needed for our police and firefighters. And there's been a lot of work by our current administration that I've just applauded about getting, passing some new legislation about getting some funding for them, and I think that's wonderful. I did a ride along with one of our police officers.
In the front or in the back?
In the front, there you go. Yeah, we had to take somebody to Taney County, so they were in the back,
Yeah.
But it was a wonderful experience. I applaud, especially on a national level, where some people deride our cops and our people, public servants. I just love how Branson always respects them, and in my administration, if I do get elected, we always will fund them, and we always will respect our cops, and make sure that crime does not define Branson ever.
Right.
So,
I have to ask you an obvious question.
Yes, sir.
Have you had concerns from people because of your age? Because you're
not as many as you'd think, maybe. I think there's a lot of people because, it actually has been said from some folks at the chamber that Branson kind of wants to go younger. Well, I tell you, in some ways, I don't kind of agree with that. I think that we need some younger people in here, but we also want to look at the baby boomer generation, which is one of the largest generations in the history of the world, and they're all coming into age now. So I think that we need to make sure that we're still marketing to them and stuff like that. I'm not excluding anyone, but I think some people have said it would be awesome to have a fresh face in Branson, especially because of, like I said, what the mayor does, being an ambassador for the town, being a storyteller for the town. And then the last thing I'll say is, I have a unique and non-transferable connection through my family to the music industry, and we're already talking about some new acts that are going to come in that I've contacted, even if I don't get elected mayor. So we're going to keep going. If I don't get elected, I'm going to run for alderman next year, and then mayor 2 years after that. So
Okay,
yes,
just
sir.
keep at it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for talking
Thanks,
with us.
buddy. I appreciate
And do you
it.
have a website that people can check out?
What we
for the
do is we
election?
do all of our stuff on our primary Facebook page. So just
Okay.
go to facebook.com/Marshall Howden. We also have a little page for our slogan, which is Branson Song of Hope. So look it up. It has an S but no apostrophe. Facebook.com/Branson Song of Hope.
Well, there we
So,
go.
yes,
We'll
sir.
check it out. I'm Christopher James. Thanks for watching us. We'll see you at the next interview. Bye-bye. By the way, come out to Getting Basted. I want to thank them. This is my third time here this week. So I'm going to go have some more of that mac and cheese I keep posting the pictures of. So come out, check them out inside the Starlight. A big thank you to them. And we'll be doing a show about all the food and stuff here shortly. But thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Christopher James with All Things Branson. We want to thank our sponsor of our podcast today. We're here at Getting Basted with Jason. You're the owner?
Yes, sir.
How long you been open here inside the
We've
Starlight?
been open about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks,
And
absolutely.
I told you this is my third time here this week.
Right? Yeah.
So
We've got a lot of repeats.
yeah,
Definitely.
we
So
love it. We've been posting a lot of pictures
Good.
of the food, and people love it on our website.
They're enjoying our barbecue.
My
So,
kids immediately recognized your trailer
Absolutely.
outside because we're big into food trucks.
Oh,
And
awesome.
I think we saw you up in Springfield, right?
We were up in Springfield September of last year, and then as of a couple weeks, we've been down here. We worked out something with the Starlight, and they've been great folks helping us out, and back to Branson.
Great.
So,
So give me a little bit of what to expect when you come in, and just tell me about the restaurant a little bit so we can get some of our followers.
it's championship barbecue. Brad Leininger, one of our other partners, he competes, and we do the same systems and processes that he does, and it's so good we wanted to bring it to everyone else. So, and to be honest with you, it's a barbecue unlike any other. The competition side is it's fantastic.
It's amazing.
It
really
is good.
We're obsessed with the mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese is delicious. So,
And the burnt ends. I've never had those until I came in here.
yeah, the burnt ends, we use the point off the brisket, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So,
So what are your hours?
we are open from 11 to 11.
Oh, you're open pretty
Yeah,
late.
Pretty late. We
I
like
guess-
to hit the afternoon or the late night show. So yeah, right now it's 11 to 11. Sundays we're closed right now. The theater's closed, so it just kind of works out.
Okay.
Better whenever they're open on Sundays, we will be as well.
Okay, great.
So-
So all of you have been asking me like mad where I'm taking these pictures this week. I get comments all the time. It's inside the Starlight. You all know where that is. Come down, see the Texas Tenor, see our friends Buckets and Boards here.
Absolutely.
And come in and get some great barbecue. So
Get
thank
basted.
you. Get basted.
Get basted.
Downtown
Absolutely.
Branson, getting basted.
Yep.
But thank you very much for letting us come in and do
Thank
the
you.
interview.
I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.